Take us back to Caitlin 7 to 10 years ago. Did you have this same love for this type of stuff?
It's funny. I played lacrosse in college, as I mentioned, and that was like my whole life. And then I graduated and got into the workforce, and I became as obsessed with working as I was with playing lacrosse at a high level. And I always loved to run, but like I think it took me till I was 30 to realize like how much like being outside and hiking and how much that impacted my mood. And I think when you become a parent, you become more aware of who you are, because you want to be a good example to your child. And so, I was never the person that liked to get dirty or go camping or anything. So anybody that knew me in my 20s would laugh that this is what I ended up doing. Like it was a real journey to get here. And I thought like, this is how I found my best place in terms of mental and physical health. So like, how could I share that with my daughter in a meaningful way? And then once I realized it was a problem for other parents, we built Happily because we thought, what if we can share this with more people?
Interesting. Okay, so D1 athlete, there, right? The UVA is a D1 school, yeah. So a D1 athlete, and now kind of a startup founder. Not kind of, you are. What are the parallels that you see there? So I remember, and in this case, probably not a great example, so maybe I wouldn't use it. But like, I remember seeing athletes before that came through the ecosystem here, maybe 10 years ago, and it seemed like the headspace that they were in was just very focused on the task at hand. How do you think being a D1 athlete, being an athlete in general, has kind of really prepared you for doing this business thing?
Yeah, I mean, so Julie Myers and Colleen Shearer and Heather Dow were my coaches at UVA, and that whole ecosystem of UVA athletics is incredible. And you don't know when you're in it, when it's so hard, how many of the lessons you learned through that will draw into your life. But that was the foundation for me, that like things are hard and that's okay. And if you want to do something well, you have to keep practicing. And if it doesn't go right, you have to try it again. And I think most importantly was the value of team and understanding that having the right people, you were stronger when you had the right people around you. And that's how I approach everything I do in business.
So just real quick, Tim. So that aspect of not knowing a lesson when it's happening live, basically,
Yeah.
like I think about certain things like from high school where like, so I was a really good swimmer in high school. I was supposed to be a captain of the high school. And then I lied to my coach about working out. Basically, I was like, yeah, I went to the gym today and I did. And then he's like, no, you didn't. You weren't here. And now you're not going to be a captain. And I think about that. And I'm like, okay, like that shows like, number one, don't lie. Like, number two, like, don't say you're going to support your team in this thing and be in this place. Like, be the captain. Like, you're the leader. Like, have those people there. And to me at the time, I'm like, this is stupid. I can't believe you took me out of this. But like, I look at it 20 years later, I'm like, okay, like that's a good lesson. Like, show up every day or show up when you're supposed to, type of thing. Like, how did you recognize that those lessons, or when did you start recognizing that those lessons were something to build off of and not necessarily like in that moment back then?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I've been surrounded by mentors my whole career who have given me opportunities to like learn and grow, and they've been willing to coach me. And then eventually you start to see themes in your mentors that I'm like, oh, this is a lot of like themes of like what I learned through lacrosse. And so I try to be a really grateful person, and reflective. And I think, over the years, you kind of start to count your blessings even more, especially as you meet other people in the world that maybe haven't had the same gifts. You count it as being extra special.
Do you find it a challenge? So you're really, really passionate about the mission, but you're also leading the business. Is it a challenge for you to separate the good feeling of doing the right thing for your customers, but also really have to remind yourself that we have to make business decisions as well? Is that something that you have to stay cognizant of, or is that a challenge for you?
I would say like there's a yin and yang to both. And like I love running a business. I love being a CEO. Like I understand that we need to be profitable and that we need to grow to be able to have the impact we want to have. So for me, like making business decisions is fundamental to having the overall arching, like, good feeling of what we're trying to do in the world. People have invested in us, and I take that really seriously, and I want to do an exceptional job with their investment and their trust.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, it's just a common theme with a lot of people that I've talked to. It's like right out of the gate, they're like, oh, we're going to start a nonprofit or something. It's like, well, that's great. But even if you're a nonprofit, you still have to generate revenue of some kind, or else
Yeah.
you're not going to be a nonprofit for very long. So
Yeah.
I was curious of your insight.
Yeah, I mean, for us, like, we want to be a big company. We want to be a big company that employs people and that gives them great opportunities, that makes their lives better. And we want our product to positively impact people. And then the third leg of the stool is we want our investors to be rewarded for believing in us.
Mm-hmm. Someone who's been directly involved within the startup community for almost a decade, I want to talk to you about a serious pain point: spending a ton of time trying to understand the business landscape in the 757. That's time that should be focused on growing the business. At StartWheel, we're here to help you by compiling all of the news you need to know about in one place. Now there's no need to search multiple websites. Just head to startwheel.org and see for yourself. That's startwheel.org.